Hello Internet. In this video I will show you how I finally insulated my old garage doors and made them go from looking like this to this to this to this and finally to this. Now I realize that these are not the most attractive garage doors in the world. However, they are highly insulated, highly efficient as far as insulation. That was my purpose. Now this video is on the Dream Garage playlist on Scott's Garage, where I have been over the last 10 months transforming an unfinished 40-year-old garage into what is a dream garage for me. Now I'm a projects person. I love working in the garage. We live in a very cold climate in Montana, and you can insulate your ceiling and your walls, but unless you really insulate your garage doors, you're always going to have bitter cold coming into your garage. So I solved that problem in this video. Now this video is also on the first time playlist on Scott's Garage. I have never insulated garage doors before, so this is the first time. I did my research, however, and I also learned from trial and error, and I hope you get some value from this video. Keep watching. As I stated before, in addition to being on the Dream Garage playlist on Scott's Garage, this is first time, meaning this is the first time I have ever insulated garage doors. Even though it's my first time, I did research it plenty. I watched a lot of YouTube videos, and there was one product that kept coming back as superior when you're insulating garage doors, and it's this. It is the Owens Corning 2-inch, what's called Foamular NGX insulation, and notice that it's an R value of 10. I compared this to other products, other foam insulation, just as thick, 2 inches, and the R factor is twice as much on this, and that says a lot. Also, just it says for superior moisture resistance, strong and durable, easy to cut and handle. And for all these reasons, I chose to use this. It's not cheap. It's over $50 a 4x8 sheet. In my state, though, there was a rebate through Home Depot, or at least they gave me the rebate form, that I can get 30% off of what I paid for. So I am submitting that. So it's cheaper than 50 bucks a piece, but still pretty expensive, but it's twice as good as anything else that's out there. So I'll be using my table saw to make all the cuts. One of the things I learned in the videos I watched for this was that these boards come pre-scored, and you can snap them if you want. I believe they're scored into thirds on the ends, or you can snap it in half. However, my panels on my garage door do not line up with them. So for instance, my lower panel is 22 inches. The two middle panels are 20 inches, and the top panel is 20 inches. But one of the things I learned from the videos is that the best way to cut is simply using your table saw. And so I did experiment. I bought 4 panels total, and I did experiment with one panel already. And they cut like butter. It's really a clean cut. I also figured out that I'll need to angle the cuts as the garage door is lifting up, and it bends, and you cannot have a 90-degree or they'll pinch. So I have determined that 35 inches works really well for my door. And so I've set the blade to 35 inches. And when I make measurements, it'll be from the blade tip to the fence here. So for instance, this will be for the bottom panel, and it is set for 22 inches. For this bottom panel, the bottom edge is 90 degrees. So I've set the blade at 35 degrees for that top edge of the bottom panel. And here it is. So the garage door is wider than 8 feet. So on each end, I'll have to piece in about a foot or so. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to mark each of the foam pieces, or mark this foam piece. And I've already experimented with this. And how I'm going to do it is this. I'm going to use the characteristic of the foam board that it impressions itself quite easily. So I'll make sure that the end is lined up, and I'm going to push it against the lower panel. It'll mark every bolt. It'll mark where the rollers are. And then I'm going to take a utility knife and carefully cut those pieces out so that the styrofoam will fit tightly to each of the frames of the panel. Okay, I made my cuts. It should fit right in place. And it does. Now I was going to use some liquid nails to attach the styrofoam to each of the panels. Decided not to. If I ever need to replace the rollers, I don't want to have to deal with that. Instead, I'm going to use these low profile cabinet screws, and what's nice about them is they have the washer heads and they're self-tapping. It's just the right length, so these are 3-inch. So it goes through the foam and then it goes into the frame, and I've already tried this and it secures them nicely. Here's what they look like, both sides. You can see I didn't bother keeping the same side on the outside. I'll be covering these up. Let me show you some of the detail. There's nothing fancy here or pretty about them. You can see the decking screws, and I did angle them, and they went into the frame of each of the panels of the doors. Now I've been using these doors for 2 weeks. I took a two-week break here, and they're very firmly attached, no problem. You can see the roller here. I used this X-Acto knife to cut each one of these out, and no problem, it still rolls fine. If I had to, I am confident I could just zip these out and replace the rollers if need be. So I'm very pleased. Okay, what I'm going to do next, I'm not sure this is a good idea or a bad idea, and if you have an opinion on it, leave a comment below. But my dad gave me a roll of what is basically vapor barrier. It is insulation, it's the radiant insulation, and it is basically aluminum foil. This is made by the Reynolds company, and it's aluminum foil, pretty thick, and it sandwiches some tar paper. So it is waterproof, and it is a vapor barrier. It's used in attics for insulation. And again, he gave this to me, and I've tested it a little bit. And my thought is this, that I'll use this. I've already rolled it out, and I've cut some sections 9 feet by 36 inches. And my thought is I'll attach the first section up here with 2-way tape and with some staples. It'll drape down. And then where the foam is beveled, basically the vapor barrier will bend and come down to about here. I'll have to overlap it a little bit, but it will flex as the door opens and closes. And my thought is that it will insulate the gaps, and it also reduce drafts. So here we go. I'm not quite finished, almost there. I purposely left foil off the left door. I'll explain why here in a second. I bought some aluminum foil tape, and I'll be using this on the edges, making them nice and clean. This will stick well to the insulation foil. I'll probably put some staples in there as well. But before I do so, I want to run a test, a temperature test. And this is unscientific, but as close as I can get to just seeing how well these doors are insulating. I do have an infrared thermometer that is accurate if you are within, I think, 12 inches from an object. It's very accurate. And so I'm going to be taking several temperatures. Now, the inside temperature is 52.3 degrees. There's the thermometer right there. The outside temperature, according to my watch, is 28 degrees. So I'm going to be taking the temperature of the footer of this between wall, and then I'll be doing just the foam and then where the foil is at, and just see if there is a change in temperature. If so, what is it? Now, before I put the insulation on the doors, when it was just the original door, basically there's a wood frame, and then what it was in between was a 1/4 inch plywood piece on each of these, and there was no R value. About 2 months ago, we had 35 below zero here in Montana, and I used this infrared thermometer, and I pointed it on the inside, pointed it right on that 1/4 inch plywood, and it was 35 below zero. So what it was before was like hardly no R value at all. So I know already this is a huge improvement, but I'm going to test it right now. Okay, let's take some temperatures here. Okay, the footer is roughly 30 degrees, so it's 28 outside. This is 30 degrees, so there's hardly any R value in simply the footer. And just the foam. The foam is roughly 37 degrees. So again, 28 outside, 37 on the foam, 52 in the air. And then let's do it on the, okay. And this is 44 degrees. So the combination of the radiant vapor barrier over the foam is quite significant. 44 degrees versus the 38, just the foam, and quite a bit more than simply the foundation. So I'm overall very pleased. I just know from working in the garage, you probably saw it earlier in the video, this was a few weeks ago, but you can see my breath inside working in the garage, that the rest of the garage is insulated, but if your doors are not insulated, you're still fighting against it. So this will go a long way in just making the overall temperature of my garage more comfortable. No, I don't have like a big heater in this garage. I just have some radiant heaters currently, and probably this summer I'll come up with something more permanent as far as heating the garage. But I wanted to get the doors insulated along with the garage. It's just the next step. And now I'm just going to finish it out. I'll put foil on the bottom, I'll tape up the sides, and this project should be finished. Those were famous last words for me. I did wrap it up. I put foil on, double up a couple areas. My wife came home, however, she did not like it. She didn't like the aluminum foil look. And I have to admit, it looked like a art project in grade school on steroids, or like something NASA would put in outer space. So I come up with another plan to cover the foil. So what I came up with to solve this problem was home wrap. It's very reasonable. It's very flexible. I use the Home Depot brand, and it worked great. I wish I would have just used this from the start and not messed with the vapor barrier. Okay, here's what it looks like with the Home Depot home wrap over the vapor barrier. This is a lot more acceptable. My wife likes this. I can live with this. But I'm going to take it one step further. I'm going to paint over this. But this was really easy to apply. And the great thing about this is that the gaps are covered, and it flexes really well with the garage door as it's opened. Okay, here's a close-up of the little pan screws, and I just added them just for cinching everything together. So it goes through everything into that frame, and it just secures it so as the garage door is coming up and down, I don't want over time to be loosening up, and I think this will solve the problem. I'm gonna do one last laser thermometer test to see if the home wrap adds even more insulation to the garage doors. So according to my watch, outside it is 43 degrees. Let's see what the foundation comes in at this time. It is actually at 42.8 degrees, and it is 53 degrees inside the garage. And let's see what the garage door comes out at. It is 51.6. I'm going to round it to 52 degrees. So there is a 9-degree difference from the foundation and the outside to the garage door, and basically just a 1-degree difference from the garage ambient temperature in the air and the garage door. So I am very pleased with this. I live here in Montana, and you can insulate your walls and your ceiling, but unless you insulate the garage doors, you're going to have a lot of cold coming into your garage, and I really appreciate it now. I've been working out here quite a bit. I'm a projects person. And it's just great to have the garage doors insulated. It's not perfect. I made mistakes along the way, but overall, I am pleased. Hey, if you got any value at all from this video, please give me a thumbs up. It costs you nothing, but it's a great value to me. And we'll see you in the next video.